Uh, Let me introduce everyone. This is in our series, continuing series of Mastering the Art of Singing. And today I want to introduce the uber talented Miss Satomi Hoffman. And I just want to say, when I first time I saw this lady, there's been such a contrast. And that first time I saw her, she was she looked just like this demure young lady with her school books going to school, and she was being the musical accompanist for the Streetmosphere at the Venetian, where they had performing artists on a little stage and things, and she was playing the piano for them. And that was my first impression. And then the second time, I was down at the Fremont Street during St. Patrick's Day, and being Irish and all, I've done a lot of Irish programs, and I enjoyed the Irish music. And here was this group, I think it was called the Kelly Girls. And I looked up there and I
Killing.
look at this gal up there is just killing. And I look up and I go, oh my God, it's Satomi. It's like, here I went from demure to boom, she's killing it on stage. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, who is this person? And I realized I know her. That's unbelievable. But then I know you got involved some musicals in Vegas. You're in Menopause here. I think you were in musical Menopause. That's the one thing I'm familiar with. And then next thing you know, you're gone, and it's like I hear, well, she's in Phantom now. She's like in the New York on Broadway. She's doing Phantom. It's like, oh my God, what a whirlwind kind of career you've had. But anyway, we're going to get into all that, and I would like to hear more about that. But to start off, and for the benefit of you, a lot of new people who are just kind of getting their legs and kind of figure out where they're going in their life, like how did it all start for you in terms of your music training, your voice, particularly voice training, that kind of thing, what you did there, and kind of like how that kind of enabled you to do what you do. So
Well, I thank you for that that very thorough introduction. uh, so I actually started out. I mean, my roots are in classical music. I started out as a classical pianist, and in the classical world, you start very very young. So that was where I was able to hone my musicianship, learn how to read music. Really important if this is what you would like to do with your life. There are plenty, and I'm gonna hop right into just some unsolicited advice. There are a lot of people who do work in this industry who don't read music. And is it possible to do it? Absolutely. Are you going to make your life a million times easier and make you a million times more marketable by knowing how to read music? Absolutely. It can, especially when it comes down to between you and another performer. If you're the one who can read down, or in the audition, and who can read down a chart, um, you're just going to make a better impression. They're going to want to work with you. It's a really great skill to have. So anyhow, yeah. So I started out as a pianist, um, and I didn't start studying voice until high school. Uh, I I can't remember exactly what made me want to. I think I always wanted to sing, but my focus was so heavily on piano, and my family's focus was on my career as a classical pianist. Um, and I think it was my 16th birthday that my parents asked me what I wanted, and I was like, I really want voice lessons. I really want voice lessons. And I started out with a local teacher, and sometime during all of this, I realized, and I do remember the moment that I realized it's what I wanted to do. I realized that I wanted to go into musical theater, and that was I was watching TV. I've told this story before on other podcasts, so I apologize if you've heard me tell this story before. But I was watching TV and flipping through the channels, and went past Sunday in the Park with George, starring Mandy Patinkin and Bernadette Peters, written by Stephen Sondheim. And I flipped past it, and then I flipped back, and then I backed away from the TV, and I didn't even make it to a chair. I sat on the floor with my mouth open and just watched the rest of this beautiful piece. And I think what struck me so much about it is I had come up seeing musical theater in general as just sort of light and fluffy, and then there's nothing wrong with that. There's 100% a place for that kind of musical theater. But this was the first time that I really saw such profound depth in a piece that really was dealing with real life issues. I mean, there are, listen, those musicals have existed for a long time. Fiddler, West Side Story, but it was something that was outside of the old school canon that was in a style that I really related to, and they were just talking about real life issues, and it was so moving, and it finished, and I'm like ugly crying, and I just went, this is what I want to do. I have to do this. I have to do this. And I told my mom when she was driving, we were almost home, and she slammed on the brakes, stopped the car. What about piano? With, she was from Japan, so she had a really fantastic accent, but, you know, Satomi, no, here's a piano. You don't, what are you doing? And she was so angry. And I stuck to my guns, and she actually became one of my biggest supporters. And I was so happy before she passed, she was able to come to New York and see me in the Phantom of the Opera. Um, and it was such a proud moment for her to realize that I had been able to realize this dream, and that it was, she didn't understand what Broadway was. Like when I booked it and I told her, and she was like, "Oh, okay." And so it wasn't until she came to New York and was wandering around Times Square. And of course, I'm like, "Are you going to be okay wandering around Times Square?" "Satomi, I'm from a Tokyo. This is like a Tokyo." It's like, "Okay, all right, mom, sorry, I'm going to back off." And she came back from that walk, and she had, of course, seen, the billboards and the swag that's in every store. And that was the moment that she was like, "Phantom, a big deal." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm very proud of you." And I was like, oh my God, I got that thing that like most people never get. You get that moment where your parent tells you they're proud of you. And oh my God, I mean, it was a massive win. It was a massive win. But I skipped over the training, so I'm so sorry about that. Jack, you gotta watch me because I'll
Oh
just keep
no,
telling
that's that
stories.
you went a good place. You it segued right through the consistent pattern. You can kind of follow that whole thing. So that's good.
Oh,
That's
good.
good.
Oh,
And
good. Thank goodness. So anyhow, I when I got into so I studied at UCLA. I got into the theater department at UCLA, and at the time, the theater department was completely separated from the music department, and therefore there was no musical theater program. So I went in as as an acting major. But the music department had a musical theater class, and I auditioned to get into the class, and I got in. And what I ended up doing, nothing was official. I essentially created my own major just by the classes I was taking. So I was always in a dance class. I was always, I was taking tap. I was taking ballet. I was taking jazz. I was taking my musical theater course, and then of course I got my acting courses, and then my voice for stage, and then of course you get stagecraft. A lot of the programs now are not quite as diversified. I'm really grateful for the fact that I did get that that broad education. But I will say that over the years, I have continued to study with different teachers who have very different pedagogies from each other. And what I have found, because it ended up really fitting for me, what I believe for my philosophy is that every voice is unique. You have to, I mean, good technique is good technique, but what you're really looking for in a teacher is someone who speaks in a way that makes sense to you and that makes sense to your voice. Because something that I did find over the years with the different teachers that I studied with was that a lot of them were saying the same thing, but saying it in different ways. They were coming at it from different angles. And because of that, you're able to hone your instrument, but you're also able to, because we're smart, right? When we're studying, um, okay, I'm about to, you ready? We're going in on deep end moment here. When you are either studying your voice or working on your voice, because you can also do that on your own, I how you speak about the voice um, really changes how your voice responds, right? One teacher, and I'm so sorry that I'm not saying this clearly, but it's because it's sort of an intangible thing. So one teacher might say, make sure that you're lifting and imagine a tray being like your mouth is an oven and a tray is being put in it and is going to the back, and that's where you want that space. Whereas another teacher might say, all right, you want to think of it as a tent pole. Somebody's got a circus tent pole, and then you're going to open up that circus tent pole, and how you and yet another teacher might say, like you've bitten into a candy apple, or somebody might go into, well, we want the masseter to be nice and relaxed, and you want to make sure your larynx is popped up. So everybody's got these different languages, and you've got to find the one that you speak and the one that speaks to you. And of course, what helps you in the room? Are you studying with this person and feeling the tension release, or are you feeling yourself get into more and more tension? It doesn't mean necessarily that they're a bad teacher. There are bad teachers out there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad teacher. Sometimes it's just that they don't speak your language. So finding a technician, a vocal technician that speaks your language can be really helpful. And I will get on my soapbox a little bit. I am a big believer in studying. When you get to a professional level, you don't have to be in a lesson every week. You really don't. If you are at a professional level where you are taking care of your voice and you're feeling free and you're feeling all that good stuff, you might want to go in and check in on yourself. If you're not to that point, if you haven't hit that 10,000 hour point, a good teacher can be someone who can really help you find those those little pole stars to hang on to that will help you monitor yourself and make sure that you are singing healthfully, and to catch yourself when you're not. And then when you're not, then you always have that person you can go to and be like, hey, this is not working. What am I doing wrong? Let's work this out. Leave your ego at the door. Always, if somebody gives you something, try it honestly and truthfully at least 3 times. Like, it's easy. So here's the thing. The voice is so tied into our personality and is so tied into our emotions, and it's so our singing voice is such a vulnerable part of who we are. It's easy when you're in the room to tighten up and clam up and be like, I don't want to try. That feels ridiculous. That feels. If you have chosen to go into study with someone, uh, you have already taken a step toward trusting them with your voice. They're not there to judge you. When they're listening to you and giving you feedback, they are there to adjust you. And the only way to find out if those adjustments will work is if you commit yourself to actually taking the note, going for it, and seeing if that works for you. It's there's no magic bullets. No, let me take that back. There might be one for you, something that like really, and you know this, Jack, as a singer, there might be something that somebody says that you're like, yes, that makes sense. But don't go into a lesson and just assume that somebody's going to make you sound like, you know, Beyonce or Pavarotti in in a day. You got to go home and you got to practice it. You've got to make it so it becomes unconscious. Or that you sing unconsciously until something doesn't feel right, and then you have the technique to kick it in and allow the voice to still function freely. Because Lord knows we've all done gigs sick as a dog
Yeah.
or with terrible sound and you can't hear yourself. So yeah, I'm so sorry. I went off. Where are we? Where are we?
Well, that was real good because yeah, you hit so many bullet points for things that I haven't even articulated that just goes going yes, yes, yes all the way down the line. Because yeah, I hit my t-shirt and stuff, I just fell into it backwards. I mean, it wasn't even looking really. I just had a friend who knew he liked my voice, but he knew I had some challenges, and he was so nice and kind to me. He just invited me to um, these rehearsals at a school of opera, and then he went in more of a kindness was the only way that would have worked for me too. I mean, if somebody was telling me something, I would have resisted, and I would have been that, you know. But that teacher was. Yeah, one of the things that was for me too was like it was an act of faith. Was I came from a low voice, and so I just thought I accepted there were some ceilings about how far I could go with this voice, you know. And but she kept saying it's like kept vocalizing higher and higher, and it sounded awful to me. And she says, "No, you just keep doing it. Your voice will be there. It'll grow. It'll be in that spot." And I'll be danged if that's just exactly what happened. I thought it would never happen. It's just like, and my range is just way bigger for a bass than normally. As people think, well, he's a baritone. I go, no, I'm a bass baritone now. I mean, thanks for a good teacher, So.
And when you have the extension, it makes you so much more marketable. It makes you a more valuable commodity. And I mean, tell me this, as you stretch your voice either direction, don't you feel that you have so much more facility
Oh yeah,
than in between those places
absolutely.
because
Yeah,
it's
that was
suddenly easy.
on my volume two. When I started off doing these series, as I just was getting pointers on various volumes. The volume two gave a vocal aids, and they say take it down as far as you can go every time you do it. Go as high as you can go every time to keep expanding to both sides, because
Mhm.
the more wiggle room you got, the more solid you are, and the meat part of your range, you're going to be stronger. You're going to have a better range and be stronger. So
Mhm.
anyway, so yeah, a lot of people who have probably yet to have ever auditioned in some place like New York. That's kind of like the what does it say? The golden ring, pretty much of musical theater in the world of not only just the United States. Oh, I love kitties. I have I have some ferals and only I have rescue animals and stuff. So
Oh, I love it.
but anyway, so like if you don't mind, kind of take us through that process. Kind of what is it like, to go through, audition that you went through with Phantom, something like that. Kind of what was it like, and how did you prepare yourself, and what things did you have to like deal with, and you know,
So,
did you go like through yourself, or did you have an agent at this point, or what?
for Phantom, I was at the agent call. I had been through cattle calls when Phantom was in Vegas. Um, but
Kind of
so
calls is
the
just
the
when
only
you show up, you don't have an agent or anything. Is that what you're saying? Kind of like you just kind of show up and
yeah, like yeah, just an open call means that, and you can have an agent and still go to an open call. So the only reason that I'm like hesitating is there are so many. Okay, I'm just seeing how to break it down. So your standard call, your standard call for something like a Broadway show, you're going to have you'll probably have an ensemble call and then you'll have a principal call. They've digitized everything, so when you're an equity member, when you're in the union, you would go to the union website, sign in, you would see the listings, and you can sign up for a time slot. If they're not available, you can go on a waiting list. I don't do as many of these, so um, uh, there's always a small chunk of auditions that are reserved for people who are non-union, but that doesn't guarantee you're going to be seen, because if they are running behind or if there are union members who have shown up and say that they want to be seen and they're willing to wait at the end of the call, they will be prioritized. So when you're not union, it's a grind. Be warned. Um, and each audition has its own requirements. So on the website, you'll see the audition call, and then there's a tab that shows the breakdowns of what they're looking for and what they want you to bring in. You want to, union or non, you want to have, don't come in with only your audition choice. There are most actors out here have a book, and it has a variety of tunes in there, of audition tunes, and you have your full length versions, and then you have your shorter versions. It's good to have your 32 count version, and it's good to have your 16 count. I have been to auditions that have only wanted 8 bars. And by count, I mean bars, sorry. So I've always, now I just in my book have like little, 8 bars start here, 16 bars start here. The 8 bars don't happen very often. Usually if they're going to shorten things, it'll be down to 16 bars. If you are a union member, you can sing a whole song, but if they get busy, they'll ask you to cut it down. That, and I'm sorry, that's only in certain calls, that you get the whole song. It's it's a lot. It's a lot. Principal auditions. Oh, I think it's principals where you can have the full song. I'm having to do this on top off the top of my head when I'm so used to like signing in and just looking at the requirements of the call. So I apologize if any of this is not completely accurate. Um, I think the thing to focus more on is your preparation. Auditions uh, are not normal. It's not a performance. An audition is not going out and doing a show. Um, I have a wonderful acting coach that I've worked with, Mary T. Boyer, who did an entire class on auditions and auditioning. And one of the biggest things that I came away with is how it is a contrived, like that, the awareness of what a contrived situation it is. In a show, unless it's part of the script, you'll never, be expected to walk out with no context, sing your best 16 32 bars, make sure your high notes in there, and walk off. And it's contrived. So go in recognizing it's not a performance. You're not going to treat it like one. You're not going to prepare for it like you're preparing for a show. Um, if you don't already have a book, start building it as soon as you can. Just having it a collection of songs that are appropriate for different genres of musical theater. So if you can have a pop song in there, and there's a lot of shows that use actual contemporary music, so go ahead and have an actual something that you'd hear on the radio. Um, have a jazz tune in there, have whatever it is that you feel like you are right for. That you could do, whatever show that you would end up auditioning for. I will tell you a secret though. You can use the same song for different genres if you set it up properly
Uh,
and save yourself some time, some anxiety.
For example,
Um,
what song have you done that with?
well, I don't want to give away my tea,
Okay.
but I've got a tune that is from an operetta that I can do as a contemporary musical theater, that I can do. You can flip some emotionally depending on if the lyric will support it. You can turn something that's really that's a happy, the character is like happy all the time, great, or you can turn it into something really dark just by changing the motivation of the song, by changing your approach. um you can change it.
Huh.
You can change it. Tempo can change it. um if you are a rangy, or if you have friends who are a rangy, they can you can also manipulate you can manipulate the accompaniment. Um, some of what I'm talking about is a little more advanced. You want to be a strong actor. You want to be a strong singer. You want to be somebody who's versatile uh, enough to be able to take on that kind of flexibility.
Yeah.
But it's a time and energy saver. Your book doesn't have to be this thick. It can be that, you know.
They usually work
Um,
with the the accompanist that they have there typically, and you just so that you have if you have these arrangements worked out in advance, you could just plop the one you need then, right?
yeah, it's a matter of having have your sheet music accurate, y'all.
Yeah.
Accurate and well marked. No coming in with like, oh, I don't know. Have it. If you don't know how to do it, get a friend who does to help you, because that's the only time you get with your accompanist is you walk in, you open your book, and you go, "It's going to start here. Here's about the tempo. Awesome." And then you're off to the races. There is no time. There is no time.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
I
So
hope I just didn't make it all seem more complicated. It's a really the question that you asked is really big and
yeah,
very really varied depending on the circumstance.
yeah, yeah,
If you want to, I mean, I can tell you specifically about my Phantom audition in particular, if that's helpful.
yeah. You did that here too. You said you auditioned here, and when they opened in Vegas, right?
When they were in Vegas, I went to the cattle call, to the open call. When we were in New York, I went to my agent got me a slot, got me a time slot. Um, Agent calls, those are all appointments. And for that one, they actually, because it was for a specific role, they sent me the audition material and I prepped that. Um, there's a whole conversation that can go into uh, prepping for an audition. But I prepped that material, and after I finished it, they asked me to sing something from my book that I just enjoyed singing.
Uh-huh.
And that is common. Do you have something
So,
else? What do you
so
have?
you, but you, well, you, at any given night, you did chorus, but you were understudy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was a featured chorus, so I played the role of wardrobe mistress confidant, which means so I was the soloist in the show. Um, and then I understudied Madame Giry and Carlotta Giudicelli,
Yeah, I thought I
which
heard that you did Carletta. Yeah, that's a
yeah,
biggie.
so
That's a biggie.
vocally those are opposite ends of the
Oh yeah,
spectrum. Um,
that's quite a
Carlotta
shift
opened
depending on like how much notice you would ever get. Did you like just like the last minute sometimes get popped into one of those things or what?
for we there was one point in my career with the show we had a Carlotta who was having some knee issues and I went in mid show quite often.
Wow, mid
The
show.
show would mid show
Did not know that was even possible.
happens more than you think, but
I
it should
didn't
always
even.
be announced.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like, boy, that's you really got to shift gears pretty fast in your head to get into that. Like mid show, you're already the story's like arced in some kind of way. You got to like come in on it somehow. That's going to be pretty challenging, I imagine.
Honestly, I was if it was for Carlotta, I was so flippin' relieved I didn't have to do the opening cadenza. Because that thing comes out of nowhere. You're not starting on the tonic. You're starting a half step up from the last note that the orchestra plays. There's the monitors are non-existent where you're standing and it's
Mm.
just you yourself carrying my dress was 23 pounds and then you're carrying an 8 pound head and you've got a train and you've got another 3 pounds of wig on your head and you're just praying to Jesus it's all going to come out. But it's a hoot and a holler, and I will tell you, it is a fun show to sing, and it is not people people get this mistaken idea that because it's one of the older shows that it's easy. It is a very difficult score. We do a lot
Yeah,
of atonal stuff.
yeah. I auditioned for
Yeah.
it in Vegas, and I was like almost. I mean, really surprised just kind of how atonal it was. It's kind of like I'm used to classical music theater. I'm coming in going, where the hell is my note here? I went, they ended up did a callback for me for the heck's the guy gets hung every night anyway. It was for that
Oh,
particular
bouquet,
part.
you'd be
Yeah,
perfect for
yeah,
bouquet.
and it
Yeah.
was like, but when I can't did a callback, and it was like, honestly, I mean, I tried to prepare myself, but I just was too nervous, and I kind of, I didn't do as well as I should have done because I would have probably had a shot at that part. But I just like kind of blew out with that atonal stuff. I was working in my head, and actually the accompanist even tried to help me, and I just kind of was overthinking it way too much. I just, but that would have been it. I seeing the TV version. I thought, am I going to get dropped every night? That's going to be hard on
Oh,
my back. Do I really have to do that? But it turns out they just kind of did a little shadow of that. I think when they actually did the show here.
the Vegas version was a stuntman. Was a stuntman. It was actually a buddy of mine. They actually used the stunt double on the Vegas one. The one in the West End and on Broadway, it was a dummy.
Oh, wow,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
interesting.
Yep. But they used a real dude. They used a
Wow.
real dude. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Do you want to talk a little bit about navigating nerves in auditions?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because it's a big one. Um, and I think something to start with is to accept that you're going to be nervous, because fighting it is just going to make you more nervous. And it's I think one of the best things there's a ton of things that you can do for yourself. But I think one of the best things that you can do for yourself is to practice your audition from walking into the room. If you've got to go outside your room, open the door, walk in, close it behind you. Hi, my name is Satomi Hoffman. I'm going to be singing, I don't know, I'm going to be singing Glitter and Be Gay. I don't sing Glitter and Be Gay, it's too high for me. But, um, practice walking over to practice walking over to your accompanist, telling him where it is, practice getting up there. And then once you are standing where you are, um, practice taking a breath and doing whatever it is that you do that grounds you. There's a lot of different techniques for grounding. Some people take a breath. Some people do tactile work where they touch a part of their hand or they touch a part of their leg or whatever before they start. Um, for me, I can't give everything away, but I like to find a way to put myself in the world of the song before the music even starts. So if I'm doing, okay, well, give me an example because all the songs that are coming to my head I don't do a lot of really well known songs in my audition book. So give me an example
Of
of like a song that I would do or a show.
okay. Um, my knowledge is mostly with, probably what's called revival like type of musicals.
Perfect.
Very vocal kind of stuff and things like that. So
Perfect.
like from My Fair Lady, anything like that.
Okay. So let's say I'm going to be doing Wouldn't It Be Loverly? All right. So I will have done my homework at home. Um, it would not, I wouldn't start at, oh, I'm a Cockney girl, any of that kind of stuff. I would start at when is it that I felt like, man, if only I had XYZ. For instance, man, if I could just get a Broadway show. If I could just get a Broadway show. So then all I want in my head, it's all I want is a Broadway show. All I want is to be able to walk backstage every night and to meet those people, to be in rehearsal. Wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Right? So I'm making it something that connects to me, to my soul. Um, so then if I've found that, now I'm giving this is like a super, super condensed version of the work that I do before I go into the room. Um, so then before I even start the song, when I'm practicing the song by myself, I take a second and imagine myself maybe, all right, I'm standing in Times Square and I'm looking up at all of the shows on all of the billboards. Oh my God, that would be amazing. And then I practice the song. Okay, let's get it more specific. Okay, I'm standing outside the Winter Garden and I see a show at the Winter Garden that I really want to be in, and I'm seeing the actors come out, and I'm playing. I'm playing. You're playing pretend, just to get the feeling of what that wonder would be. And then when I'm then practicing, walking in the room, putting down my music, talking to the pianist, introducing myself. So before the music starts, I choose, okay, I'm standing in Times Square and I'm looking up and I see coming next year to Broadway revival of Sunday in the Park with George. And I'm thinking about what that would feel like. All right, so what's my shortcut to that? Getting ready to start and see it and like just let it hit you. And then it can be all I want is a room somewhere, and then you're right there with all of that emotion and all of that work that you've already done in the rehearsal room, and you've created this, what Mary Boyer used to call it, you've created this opening moment that that hooks you in to the emotional reality of your audition song. So then it unhooks the part of your brain that's nervous and worried and, oh my God, I'm going to be vulnerable in front of these people and I'm showing my emotions. I don't, this is embarrassing. It gives your brain something else to be busy about. And it's not that that noise will go away, but it'll be quieter. And if you've done your homework, when that noise starts up again, you'll have more in this world you've created. This I'm standing in Times Square. I'm going to walk over to TKTS. I'm going to go over. Oh my God, I looked on my phone. There's auditions coming up for this. Oh my God, it's terrifying, but I've got the perfect song for it. You start creating that rich, rich world. It's like, it's like going to Galaxy's Edge at Disney World, which is the Star Wars experience. You walk in and you have a fully realized world to play in because you've done that homework. You've created this world that's built around your audition song. And so you can make you can make different choices every time because you've built this full world. So that's a really, really long way of saying preparation is everything. Is everything. It's not just how good do I sing the song. It's creating that whole world as if you were cast. And then you're just lifting this little, in this contrived, non performance, weird situation where you have no props, you have no lights, you have no costumes, you have nobody to sing to, but you create it in your mind. You create this whole world in your mind. And that is what you bring with you into the audition room. And practicing walking in the room helps you to put on that world like you're putting on a coat, and then you can walk out and you can take it off. Um, the final thing about that, let's say you have an audition that completely goes to hell. Like you said, you were having that challenge with the atonal stuff. I give myself a time limit about how long I can feel bad about it. It's usually an hour. If it really, really goes bad, I'll give myself a full day, and you commit to it. I'm never going to work again. That was the worst in the world. That was the most shaming thing ever. I am the worst. I am untalented. I la 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 la. And when the clock ticks over and you're done, you're done. You move on because there's too many other auditions that are coming up for you to get hung up on that one audition.
Yeah.
And then you can take it to your singing teacher and be like, "Hey, help me out. What can I do next time to help this go better?"
Yeah. So,
I'm all over the place tonight. I'm so
oh,
sorry.
that's good. No, we're like, that's, boy, that's way more preparation than I've ever done. And I realized maybe that's where I went wrong. Because I just
They
I would kind of go in and just hope that I would, win everybody over with my voice. But the only thing I had going really good for me was that I just love to sing so much that's usually the thing that gets me through. It's just because I love to sing more than I fear, you know, rejection, so that's just always kind of helped me, that one little aspect there of that thing to it.
well, if
And,
I mean, if that's what the role calls for, but
yeah,
then it just means then you're limited to those roles.
yeah. Oh, there's
That's all
that
it
too.
does. Yeah.
So now, are you familiar with Eric Whitaker? Is he
Uh,
kind of like did
I
this
know that name. I don't,
virtual choir stuff and things like that? You kind of do thing where it was a whole variety of windows and it puts all this
oh,
remotely tie into this virtual choir. Well, the reason I bring this up
hmm,
because you did something like that, very cutting edge yourself, and that's something I was curious about. Because I caught it, and you were doing like all the parts of something that
yeah.
you put out there, and I'm going, but you were doing it so just free and easy, like, and I don't know, I can't remember what that was exactly, but it's like you kind of dabbled in a creative aspect of it too for whatever what was that exactly you had done anyway.
Well, I've done a whole bunch of those. I've done a bunch that were just myself, and then I've been in a whole bunch of virtual choirs. Um, I'm so again because of my background as a musician, I'm also a vocal arranger, and so that whole thing I think happened. I can't remember if it happened pre-pandemic or during pandemic, but I got bored. I got bored, and also I had all of these arrangements, either that I had done or I had some people make some suggestions for arrangements, and it's really I tend when I arrange, unless I'm specifically trying to keep it easy, I tend to arrange very tight harmonies, which can be really difficult, and but they're really, really fun for me to sing. I really enjoy them, and no one will ever blend as well with you as you, which is why so many pop singers they often layer their own harmonies and backup singers as well. Like, a lot of times when you're hearing backup vocals, it might sound like 10 people, but it's really like either 2 or 4, and they're just stacking it and to create that fat sound.
Oh,
And it's just it's fun. It's fun. I mean, I do still arrange. I arrange actually the I'm going on a concert tour in about a month, and yeah, at least half of the tunes are my arrangements. So I it's actually with a gentleman who I had done arrangements for before, and then he invited me on this tour. So I finally get to sing. That's for the joy of it. I love harmonies. I love singing harmonies. I love writing them.
huh.
I love hearing how the sound waves like slap against each other. They kind of create this little like tickle in your ear when they're really tight. Um, it's joy.
Huh. Interesting. So that's a whole
It's
nother
joy.
creative aspect. That's one reason I said you're like uber talented because you got so many things going on. So many things. That's pretty
Thanks,
cool.
man. Thank you.
So, so anyway, are those things, any links to those connected to your website? I want to, include a link to your website on this video blog and stuff. But are those things you can see any of that kind of stuff posted there?
Yeah, well, I would say if anyone wants to keep in touch with me or follow me, all of my socials are at Satomi Hoffman, and that's you'll have it listed in the show notes, I'm sure. But it is Hoffman with not yet, but I've got a couple films coming up, and then this concert tour is part of a subscription series, so I don't know how much I can advertise it because I
Yeah,
think everything's sort of pre-sold. It's the weird things in the business. But if you want to keep up on like, when I'm doing like an episodic or doing a film or whatever, that's a good place to keep tabs on me.
Yeah.
Um, and I do want to say that everything that I talked about this evening, it's a lot of information trying to squitch it into one tiny thing. But I do want to say that all of this, all of the work part, I don't want to scare anybody off. Um, it gets way easier the the more you do it. You just start doing it, and it just gets way easier, and shifting becomes way easier. So it's not, this once upon a time, I would have looked at a tune and, it would have been like, oh my God, and, you break it down and you figure out what you're going to do. And now I can just look at a tune and be like, cool, all right. Because the ideas just start to come because it's like any skill. It's a skill. And, you just gotta work on it. But definitely people, they're not expecting people to just be a voice anymore. They're looking for, they're looking, they're looking for the package. Um, Not that people who can't act don't get on Broadway. It happens all the time. But, again, putting yourself in the all you can do is put yourself in the best position possible. If you're not there yet, it's okay. I've been doing this for a long time. You just keep learning. Just don't close your mind off to learning and practicing and growing as a performer. Just makes a huge difference, and it makes you a more interesting performer too.
I think that's a lot of what sometimes we pick up when we listen to, the people that we've maybe started really taking an interest in singing in by listening to, the things that they did and stuff and things you pick up from. I know sometimes I get affected by things I didn't even know that I got affected to. Like I was listening to Mark Masri recently, and he's doing this song. It was a redo of I love a long song, but I can't even remember now. I can't remember what it is now. Mark Masri did this too, and it was a remake of a song a lady had recorded back in the '90s, probably. But he had a really good version. But he did something with his voice on this particular tune where he rolled it down. And I was out singing in the canal one day, and oh, there was a little twist of the note. I just threw right in there. It was like, oh my God! And I just kind of incorporated that into my psyche somehow. But it was an interesting like twist on a note that it's just he did, and I never had done before, and I know that's where it came from anyway. So
That's awesome.
um,
That's following your instinct.
yeah, it's just
That's the
like get it
best.
right. And I've always made a point of not trying to sound like anybody else, but sometimes when you're listening to things, you got to listen to what other people are doing with stuff to kind of get a gist of the like rules or things like that. And opera was like that too. It's like you kind of listen to people and when you're learning roles or things. But I always try to make a point of trying to make sure I did something unique to it. So
Well,
anyway,
the thing that's oh, sorry, you just made me think of something that's helpful is as long as you're not, doing a direct lift, it's always going to sound different because it's on you and not that other singer. It's coming out of your voice.
yeah.
So as long as you're not doing a straight lift, you know, you know what I mean? You're not just doing an
Yeah,
impersonation.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Um,
Although
there's
I do that one thing though. An audition thing I've used is the Ed Sheeran, Andre Bocelli um, song "Perfect," perfect. Just
oh yeah.
just for the heck of it, I'll throw in that kind of little idiosyncrasy that Sheeran had in his voice in one spot, just to be amusing because I don't even know how I do it, but it's like I hear him and I just do it. It's like
Mhm.
does this one particular note and then, but Shelley is all I have to do that on my own because he has his own way of doing stuff, and I have my own way of doing stuff. But
Yeah,
anyway,
he's got a very unique voice.
the thing that I was trying to say was that it must have been love. Probably must have been love, but it's over now. And
Mhm.
Masri does a beautiful version of it. I ever heard of something Mark Masri, but anyway, so yeah, my recording is going to time on you pretty quick and know exactly when it's going to happen. But just in summation, I know you've given a lot of tips for new people and that kind of thing. But if there was just any last thoughts about somebody who's just trying to go down this road and maybe get into the musical
Yeah.
things, when a little last thing you might have to say.
Yeah. A lot of people will try to tell you that they have the one and only answer. And what I would say is try it out, but find out the answer for you because everybody is unique. Um, for example, uh, a trite piece of advice that a lot of people like to give is audition for everything, audition for everything. You never know. That works great for some people. That destroys my soul. I can't do that. It hurts me. It like and then the
Yeah,
auditions that I should be doing great at, I suck at because I've given all my energy to all of this other stuff, right? But some people thrive on that. So just recognize that you are going to have your own things that work for you. Try it out. Go, like I said, go to those teachers, acting coaches, vocal coaches, whatever. Really, what they give you, really 100% commit. And then if it's not working, it just might not be right for you. You might need to move on and find something else that works better for you. Nobody has the single guaranteed be all as seen on TV answer to who you are as a performer and what will make you a better performer. The biggest thing is it's experience, trying stuff out, finding out what works for you, finding out what makes your truth sing. Um, I have so much more to say about this, but I know we're running out of time.
yeah,
But I think that would be kind of
yeah.
a, a
So
core thing.
you did operettas too? You done operettas?
Uh, did I? Like, I think I did like one like back in the day. But no, I mean, I don't want to commit to that answer. I've listen. I've been around this business for I'm young, I'm older than I look. So,
Whatever you're doing,
um,
keep it up. It's working for you.
thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I've done I mean, I for a brief while as an adult professional singer, I was approached about going into opera, um, but it just wasn't where my heart was. It just wasn't where my heart was. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't.
I imagine they
I
would be.
think I've done like pieces from. I think that's why I'm like sort of hooking on it. I think I've done operetta ish or
Yeah,
opera. Not operatic, operetta ick
yeah,
segments for concerts and stuff like that.
yeah,
And I saw so many growing up, so I think I'm just conflating them all.
yeah.
How about yourself? Are you an operetta dude? Like a
Well, I
Where's
did.
Charlie or
I did, but just kind of
GNS?
that was kind of a side thing. I did
Hmm.
one gig just because I wanted to work with Maria Callas. She did
That's cool.
um, what is that famous?
Masterclass?
No, she
Oh,
was
that's not an opera. That's a
the
play. Sorry.
musical. That was a famous tune from that. What the heck was it? But she was the lead in the opera. And this was in Portland, and I took a small role on that just to hang around her, pretty much. They said there might be some money, but you always know that means no money. So, but Mary Widow, Mary Widow, yeah,
Oh, Merry Widow. Oh
yeah.
gosh, of course.
Yeah, they
Of
paid her
course.
like 10 grand to, come be the star of that thing, and but anyway, yeah, they did that in Portland and an old theater there, and it was really pretty,
Beautiful.
good experience. It's funny how they always tell people always be quiet backstage, blah 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 blah. She'd be doing warm ups in the curtains during performances, going whoop whoop whoop. It's like okay, well, when you're a star, you do what you do, and you as a student you study a protocol, but once you get to where you're going, who cares, So
I have stories.
Yeah,
I have stories. I'll tell you when we're not recording.
sure. Anyway. Well, anyway, thank you so much for your time. You're in New York now, aren't you? Aren't you living in New
Mhm.
York? Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I've been out here for about 15 years now.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Mm.
It's a neat place to be. It's stressful, I'm not gonna lie. But you learn a lot about yourself living out here. You learn a
I'm
lot
in.
about yourself.
Well, thanks again. You're the first lady. For some reason, all the ladies I've ever invited are just gun shy about being on camera. I don't know what the heck it is, but I've invited a bunch of them, and we just can't ever seem to connect. And I'm glad that you did because I think you're going to kind of open up the doors. I'm going to say, "Wow, Satomi did this." Well, I think okay, maybe I could do this. But I help you. Thank you very much for spearheading it for putting in your point of view on this whole thing. And you were
My pleasure. Hey, gondoliers stick together.
yeah, that's
I
right.
was the first female gondolier over at the Venetian,
Corey,
so
really?
I was, and actually the men protested.
Really?
They
Just
protested,
like
yeah.
the real Venice, I guess, huh? Isn't that weird? That's wacky. That was
Yep. And
was
of
that for
course now they
Farrington?
have female gondoliers in
Oh, all the
Venice
time
now.
now, yeah. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
so that was for Farrington then when they first opened. I guess that
Yep.
was they were the ones running the program back then. I did not
I
know that.
actually I actually started out no, I started out with Farrington on the outdoor entertainment program, which was beautiful. I went through a couple of the different iterations, and I worked for Best for a while, and then when we met, I was music director. Oh, I wanted to say, so I was not in school when that happened. It was because of my costume, and I would have my music with me. I'd carry my music with me everywhere. Um, so I don't want people to think I'm younger than I am, although maybe I do. Maybe I do. And then the band that I was with, and they are still going strong, is Killian's Angels, and
That
they're
was
an all-female
interesting.
Celtic rock band.
Yeah.
And they had a huge influence on my life. As a matter of fact, my cabaret that I just did out here was I was based on Irish music because of my years with Killian's Angels. So
Super.
carry a little bit of my Vegas experience with me. And then I was in Menopause the musical when I was too young to be in Menopause the musical. Um, in And that is still going strong. So shout out to everything out there. There's a lot of work out in Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised when I got here. It's like I always kind of felt like I was the odd one of the bunch, and I came here and I got a bunch of people just like me. Everybody's creative and looking
Hmm.
for different things to do. And it's like, man, I just felt so much at home right away. Just, well, I get these people. They're always thinking what they're going to do next, and so many different approaches. All
Yeah,
right. Well, thank you again so
awesome.
much, Satomi, and
My
I
pleasure.
appreciate it. I think a lot of people are really going to benefit from what you've had to say here because there was times we
I
were
hope
getting into a
so.
master class stuff there, and I really appreciate that because that's good stuff. So thank you again so much for your time.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I
All
hope it
right.
helps.
Ciao.
Ciao.